Yeah, I wanted us to talk about internet, and like I told you, UNEB will give you 3 questions around this area, and the 3 questions, in most cases, they come on the software part of the internet. Let me pick a text maybe here. The 3 questions that they said, they are going to test students on the software bit of the internet. Then they are going to test you on the hardware bit of it. They are going to test you on the hardware bit of it. Then the last question, in most cases, they test students on the application of internet. They ask you some questions on software bit of internet, the hardware bit of it, then its application. And what happens here, for the last time I have seen UNEB asking for internet, for software in majorly, they concentrate on questions like maybe they may ask you the requirements you need if you're connecting to the internet. That is one. And they can ask you about things to do with the internet. Maybe they can ask you about a website, things that you cannot touch. They can ask you maybe what is a web browser. Then you give some of the examples. Normally, when they're asking questions in ICT, there are always 5 questions. I mean, there are 5 marks for each question. So if they're asking you about the internet browser, that is the software bit of it, they may ask you about web. Sorry, I lost my internet. And I was telling you that they will ask you something in soft copy, they will ask you something in hard copy, then and its applications. They are going to ask you things like, they may ask you to distinguish between a modem and a router. Things that you use normally on internet, but they are tangible. You look at them and touch them. So they will ask you some question from there. They cannot ask every question on hardware bit of the internet. Then its application, they will ask you things like the advantages and disadvantages of using internet in schools. They may ask you what is an email, what are some of the basic features of an email, things that you apply internet. There is a question they asked, I think last year or the previous year in 2022, when they were asking students steps they are supposed to follow when creating an email address. So some of the application questions, in most cases, we don't teach them here. You must come to that class, to that question paper rather, when you have at least try to use the internet. So I wanted us to define the internet and This is the simplest definition you can always give. It is a network. It's a collection of networks linked together to exchange. It's a collection of networks linked together for exchange of information. So what happens here is that when you have more than one computer connected to each other, for example, if I have maybe my laptop here, and you people having your other laptops wherever you are, maybe you're using a phone, you're using a laptop that is portable, or maybe you're using a desktop wherever you are. All those are computers brought together for exchange of information. Right now, there is an ICT lesson going on, and I'm using a computer here. We've connected to each other. About 20 people have different computing devices. So that one makes it internet. Otherwise, if there is no internet, then we cannot have any communication between more than one computing device. And the other definition is here. And when you write about this definition, anyone would think you really know a lot about internet, because you'll be looking at it at a bigger perspective. You're not only looking at maybe a school. The second definition is over there. Global connection together to share, stock, exchange information. And here they are not looking at only one country. A person can be in the US and still able to communicate backward this other side. And if a person is in the US and they want to communicate to us, they want to make a video call, they can't just what? They can't just put that video call on a ship or maybe in an airplane and they fly it over this side. It's not possible. They must use what we call the internet. And internet simply is going to help you connect computers globally, maybe. Whenever you're connecting computers, the main reason why you're connecting the computer is to share, to exchange. Now, some people, when they connect to the internet, some of you, when you connect to the internet, you don't even have any reason why you're going to the internet. You just leave the data on and it runs until it gets finished. You would have almost wasted that data. Every time you connect to the internet, there must be a particular information you want to either read or you pass it off. So don't just go to the internet and sit there. Every time you turn on your data, it is being used by the internet, providing whichever service that your phone can provide. Maybe updating your location, maybe updating different apps here and there. So every time you turn on your data, make sure you know what you want to use it for, because even the definition of the internet itself is reliable. It is very clear and it is leaning majorly on the exchange of information. So don't go there when you don't know what to do. And in most cases, they have always asked such a question. When you're connecting to a computer, what do you need? When you're connecting to a computer, what do you need? They are going to talk about such a question, and specifically they will ask you. You see, why we teach ICT, sometimes it is not, why we teach ICT, it's not majorly to pass exams. Of course, you can be there and now Irene, only open the microphone if you're speaking something related to this. Okay. So what happens is that we don't teach you ICT to only pass what? Exams. We give you the basic knowledge that you need as a student who is doing A level. I really don't know what students who don't do ICT look like when they get to the university, because entirely the whole university is ICT related. So we give you some knowledge that sometimes could be too much. You may not only look at it for passing what? Exams. So here, when you want to connect to the internet, you need a computing device. You need a communication device and you need the internet service provider. Now, every time they ask students what are the requirements for one to connect to the internet, they are going to tell you Wi-Fi, at least what I see students writing here. They will ask you, you need Wi-Fi, you need the battery in your phone, you need what? You need data. They always write data. Now, I want to discourage whoever is here and has ever come across a question paper talking about the requirements of one to connect to the internet. And they're writing data. Now, in computer data, data is something that doesn't have any meaning. For those who studied their first term of senior 5 very well, you know. And this question is also very common. They always ask you to distinguish between data and information. So avoid writing data. This for the previous time I have marked students answering questions related to internet. They always love writing data, then Wi-Fi. They write data and Wi-Fi. So let's avoid writing this. Let's stick to, if you're needed to write something about connecting your device or connecting your computer to the internet, you need computing device, a communication device, and lastly, you need what we call the internet service provider. And we are going to see this in length. What do we mean by a computing device? What do we mean by a communication device? And lastly, what is an internet service provider? So this told you with right something like that. So we'll start with what is a computing device, and sometimes we call these ones PCs. Sometimes those who do not so deep, they know what we refer to when we talk about a gateway. So a computing device, if they ask you what are the requirements for you to connect to the internet, what are those requirements? Always tell them. The first one is called if they ask you such a question, always tell them the first one you need is called a computing device. And the computing device consists of two or more network codes of a computer, which enables one to access the other. And the computing device here, they may not ask you to define it, but majorly you can give examples. So when you're answering such a question, you say, for one to connect to the internet, I need computing device, and examples of the computing device includes a phone, it could be a laptop, it could be a desktop. So you cannot connect to the internet when you don't have any of those ones. Right? I was telling you that you need a computing device for you to connect to the internet. If such a question is asked, always tell the examiner you need a computing device. Two, you need what we call a connection device, and the connection device can be a modem, can be a router. Now, for those who don't know a modem, Airtel has a modem, MTN has a modem, but there are also those modems that are general. You have MTN, you have Airtel, you have like Leica here in Bali. I see many people are now starting to buy Leica because of the data that is affordable. You put and it works, all networks. Now, those modems are a bit expensive. However, if you have the one for MTN, you can always flash it and it works for all lines. When we talk about a modem, what do we mean? A modem, majorly, its importance is to convert. See, when you have your SIM card, you cannot fix the SIM card directly into the laptop unless that laptop is very latest. Most of the latest laptops have that provision where you can put a SIM card and use the internet. You can even make calls. But because there is no provision like that on a laptop, so you need a modem to put it in your SIM. You need a modem such that it can pick your SIM card and you connect it to the laptop. And it will always provide very good services on your computer. I have not carried my modem here. I would have demonstrated how it works. Otherwise, when you connect a modem to, if you connect a modem to a laptop or to any computing device, you're allowed to even make calls. Like you make calls on the phone. You even allowed to text. You send the messages to someone if you have their contacts. You're also allowed to receive messages. So when you have conflicting reality, you have some small money, you're contemplating whether you should buy a good phone or you buy a laptop. I always see students come with such conviction. You need a laptop or you need a phone, a good phone. If those are the options you're having in your head, what would you go for? The money is less, but you need at least one of each, but you don't know which one you want. So I would always advise students to buy a very good laptop. Buy a laptop or make sure you have a laptop because it can do extra things that a phone may not be able to do. Then when you buy a laptop, you buy a modem. When you buy a modem, you can fix it there. I really don't know whether when they call you, I've not tried that out. I think when they call you, when you put a modem, it can receive calls as well. I've not tried that out, but at least I know can send messages and you can receive them. I also saw that option of checking airtime balance. You can even try out to see the mobile money balance that is on your phone. Yeah, a modem is very powerful. So you need a modem if you connect to the internet. Buy your data bundles on the phone, maybe. Then remove that SIM card, put it in a modem, and connect it to a laptop, and you'll work. But the primary role of a modem is to convert digital signals into analog signals and vice versa. And you people, a modem is an abbreviation. For those who don't know that a modem is an abbreviation, you're going to be disappointed someday. A modem is an abbreviation. They are going to ask you to write a modem in full, and a modem stands for the moderator. It stands for moderator, the moderator, the full here. It stands for demod, moderator, the moderator, and they picked the first M order, and they picked, I think, something from here to make that abbreviation, and the one we refer to as a modem. It's a moderator, the moderator, and that one means it moderates and it demoderates at the same time. Moderating is converting digital signals into analog, and demoderating is converting analog signals into the digital signals. So let's know how them works so that we can refer to it. Now, there is something called a router. A router is very important. As you're planning to go to the university, my first time at the university, there is something they told me up to now I felt it was very bad for me not to have known what they wanted to mean. You see, the time for us we studied, there was no Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi started being popular recently. So a place that had Wi-Fi those gazetted places like the hotels, but Wi-Fi was not made a common thing. But now they have brought Wi-Fi. Even on your phone, you can create a hotspot and people connect to your Wi-Fi, and they can always have the internet. So when we went to the university, they were telling us that you people, if you want to use some internet, you see when you go to the university, the first 1 week is for orientation. So they told us if you want the internet, you'll go to that mango tree, or you go on the other building just down there, there is internet, then this other place. Then me, I was wondering, how can internet be in the mango tree? There is no cable, there is nothing that is connecting anything there. So, and when they later told us what happened, that they had put a router just around that mango tree. And every time you needed internet, connect to that router. So a router is very important. And MTN has routers, Airtel has routers. You can always go there and see how much a router can cost. For example, if you have a birthday at home, you can always invite your friends. And when they're at your home, don't make them buy data. Just if you can't buy a router, you hire. Maybe someone can give you at around maybe 5,000 or 10,000. Then you buy that and provide the internet to your friends through a router. And this is a device which connects different networks together on a switch with different and on a switch with different and a network. I really don't know what is here. But what is important about the router is that it supplies internet. For example, if you're using the cable internet, when you put a router in a certain room, it can connect both wirelessly and it can connect using what? The cables. So you only pick one internet cable. What this definition is talking about from a switch is that you can pick one internet cable. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of internet cables, but there are those internet cables that MTN, Airtel, they supply to organizations. Those organizations don't always buy data bundles the way you may expect. So what they do is that they pay internet to MTN or Airtel, depending on which one is cheaper for them. Then they bring a cable which has internet from their offices to where you want. For example, many offices around town are given cable internet. Like here at Mbale says, they've given us cable internet. So anyone who is around Mbale says, and you want that internet from MTN, they will always just pick some one cable from around Mbale there and take it up to your home, then they charge you. So when you get that internet cable from MTN or Airtel, you connect it to a router and it can always supply internet to other computers around you, even to a mobile phone, if your phone can pick internet from wireless access point. So under the communication device, the examples you can always give is a modem and the router. Then there is another there is another requirement for you to connect to the internet called the internet service provider. And one of the internet service provider is MTN. And I'm going to just list some of these internet service providers here. And I really don't know if you know some of them other than MTN. There is Airtel. There is Airtel. You can buy another internet service provider. This one is not very popular, but it is owned by the government of Uganda. It's called UTL, Uganda Telecom. And have other internet service providers like a mobile. They love to abbreviate themselves like that. Then we have Loki. I think they write it like this, Loki, Telcom. You must have not heard of these ones, but they are there. We have Smile. All these are SIM cards that you can buy. for purposes of internet. Have Smile. For those who can move across Uganda, across the country, when you reach Kenya, there is what we call Safaricom. Safaricom, I don't know if they put space. There is, when you go to Tanzania, Vodafone. Vodafone. I also not sure of that spelling. That is how they write it. Then there is Africell also. Africell, even when it closes, gets in Uganda, but it still remains a very powerful internet service provider. Africell, I don't know, I've always heard about something from Uganda Kingdom, K2, it's called K2, but it was, I think, merged with Airtel. And which other one have I not talked about? You'll always read more about those internet service providers if they ask you to mention some of those internet service providers. Unfortunately, on my side, I did not prepare anything about the internet service provider, so I will paste them here for those who are writing these internet service providers. So what is an internet service provider? And it is always abbreviated as ISP. They'll ask you to write that in full. This is a company that provides internet connectivity to individuals, business, and organizations. Individuals means if you have your mobile phone, you have one laptop, you can always contact any of those organizations and they will give you the internet. Business or an organization like now a school or maybe a hospital. The next requirement for you to connect to the internet is called the internet browser. And internet browser, the popular ones me I've ever seen Chrome. The popular ones I see Chrome. I see Opera Mini. Opera Mini. I have ever seen the latest one from Microsoft is called Edge. Then maybe Firefox. There is this latest one, actually the one that trends most people have them in their phones, called Phonics. Not sure of that Phonics spelling. And then we have the UC browser. The UC browser have so many browsers. I don't know if you've ever come across any of this, but you can always add if they ask you to talk about internet service providers. I mean, if they ask you to talk about this internet browser, I'm also leaving that in the chat just in case you want to write something. And what is an internet browser? These are programs used to display web pages. For example, it could be Opera Mini that I've talked about. It could be Chrome, among others. The other alternative definition is that it's a software application that allows you to view the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web could be a website of your choice, like Google. It could be any of those websites that have been uploaded. So there is another alternative definition here that says it's a software that allows you to view information on the web. And I think that was the last requirement you need if you're to connect to the internet. And I'll leave it at that point for anyone to ask if there is anything that wasn't clear. I will quickly talk about it, especially for the requirements you need if you're to connect to the internet. There is no question, or if people still don't talk, I will be talking about the factors you have to consider if you're choosing an internet service provider. Okay, I can see any hand up. We'll talk about the internet service provider. If you are contacted by someone and they want you to choose which internet service provider, I don't know which one would you choose and why would that. I'll give a chance to one or two people to tell me which one they would choose and why. Then we'll talk about the factors. we don't get anyone saying, I will display about 4 factors we have to consider when displaying, when choosing an internet service provider here quickly, because of time. We have less than around 50 minutes to leave here, so I'll just do that very fast. Jojo, that is, which one would you choose and why?
Speed.
You would choose what?
Speed. Are we choosing the factors or the ISPs?
The ISPs, which one would you choose and why?
MTN. It
You would
has,
choose them.
yeah, because it's available in most parts of the country.
Only looking at Uganda.
Mm.
Or it is also, or it's there for you, you don't plan to leave. What if it's not in Kenya?
In most parts of Africa, okay.
Oh, yes. So don't only look at the country. Any other reason why you would choose MTN?
The speeds,
What?
the network speeds.
The network speed. You think MTN is faster than any other?
If I'm going by my experience while using it, yeah.
Okay, let's see what someone else has. Site confirms that MTN is available, and maybe you would also choose it because it's a little faster. Any other person? Let's have the hands
Yeah,
up.
I would choose like a mobile.
Like, I'm also not sure of that spelling. Is that how they write it? The man choosing Leica. Do you
Because
know the spelling of that?
yeah,
That's how they write it.
because the data is cheap, the internet is
Yeah, cheap. Do you think people want cheap things? Or you're choosing for you? Because some people may be here and they feel bad when you tell them, people, let's buy Leica because it gives some cheap. What else would you consider? Why would you choose Leica?
yeah. I'll consider the speed of the network.
It's faster. Okay, at least he has told us about Leica. Can we get the next person? Okay, we don't seem to have any other person. But the factors you would consider to buy or to choose any service provider, internet service provider, these people have almost summarized all of them. I didn't just like the one of, you see the speed of a computer is called the bandwidth. Yeah? So maybe you had written it in a layman's understanding, but I expected someone to say bandwidth. So you'll find some books referring to it as the bandwidth of the internet service provider. And this one means what? The speed. How fast is your service provider? And people will choose it because of that. And the first factor you have to consider is that don't go for a very, very expensive. Okay, there are those people who have expensive things. Of course, we don't want to stop you. But when you're choosing an internet service provider, first look at the cost of an internet service provider. Let it not be very expensive. let it not be very cheap according to what you want. So if you want very expensive things, till this point works for you. Look at which one is expensive, go for it. If for you, you fear expensive things, also first ask how much is yours. And that's why this young man has gone for the Leica mobile because of the cost of the service internet provider. So the speed, and the speed I've told you, it is sometimes referred to as the bandwidth. Don't pick something that is moving slowly. For example, where I stay, when you buy my real village, the village place where I am coming from, I'm coming from Sironko. And for us, when we go back to the village, real village, maybe around Christmas time, you can't even upload a photo when you're using internet. The place is so remote, especially when you're using Airtel, that side, you cannot now do. So when you're in such a remote place, don't buy Airtel. Don't buy MTN if it is so slow. Don't buy Leica Mobile if it's so slow. It's one of the factors you must consider if you're to buy an internet service provider. These hands coming up for the second time, or you have something to ask. I'll put down every hand and you can put it up again if you want to ask something. So the next one is accessibility. One should consider which can be accessed. Someone had already talked about MTN, it's available. But when you're talking about East Africa, don't always go for MTN. MTN only works in Uganda. When you go to Kenya, your MTN will not work. Maybe if it patterns with Safaricom. And that one is very expensive because you cannot call from Uganda, you're calling to Safaricom, and you think they are going to charge you fairly. Now, me, when we went to Kenya, even buying internet becomes very expensive on MTN. MTN is so popular outside East Africa, but in East Africa, it's only popular in Uganda here. In Kenya, they don't have MTN, and not even in Tanzania, they don't have MTN. I don't know in Rwanda and Burundi, but in East Africa, the most available internet service provider is Airtel. When you go to Kenya, it will just work. And that's why some people, when they reach Kenya, they struggle and make sure they buy an Airtel line from Uganda. They go with it to Kenya, so that they can always call using the voice bundles. When you buy voice bundles, you can freely call in Kenya because those people have Airtel in Kenya as Airtel, they call it as Airtel. And then when you go to Tanzania, it is even worse. Now, when you leave Kenya, when you leave Uganda and go to Kenya, MTN of Uganda sends you off to Safaricom. Now, Safaricom charges you as if you're their client. Actually, your phone starts to read Safaricom. Now, when you're moving from Kenya to Tanzania, now Safaricom sells you on behalf of MTN. So they sell you to Vodafone. Now that is very expensive. If you're to call back to Uganda here, you have to call through Kenya, then Kenya sends to MTN Uganda. Very expensive, and the experience is that MTN of Uganda here first charges the person you're calling. If you want to call your mother, make sure the mother has some airtime. MTN first charges your mother this side, then gives this money to Safaricom in Kenya, then Kenya connects it to Tanzania. So it's very expensive. You first must have airtime on both lines. They charge you double. And every second, I think it is charged, I think 800, I don't know, it becomes very expensive. So when you're choosing an internet service provider, consider all those possibilities. When you realize it's not available, don't buy it. Like a mobile, when you're in around Bali town here, very fast. Go to Bududa, it won't work. I don't know whether it works. And in Kampala, whoever talked about like a mobile must be around town. And outside town, you will just remain there with your GPs and they will work for what you want. So choose the internet service providers wisely. Then lastly, the factor is the services provided by the internet service provider. So service providers have so many different services they provide. For example, when you're using MTN, they even give you a chance to call and make SMSs. That is a privilege for me. Then when you're using Leica, I think Leica can't allow you to call. I don't know whether it allows, but I think it's only good for internet. When you're using Lockheed Telecom, they don't allow you totally to call. They don't even allow you to send messages. They only give what? Internet. So which other extra service does your internet service provider give? Does it give SMS? Does it give voice calls? Does it give internet as well? MTN even goes ahead to give you ringtones if maybe you don't have a smartphone. You want to put some song, can even give you. So it is another service it gives. MTN also has mobile money, can save your money with them. So those are extra services. When you're choosing an internet service provider, look into them before you can choose. If there is any question here, put up your hand and ask, or else I want to switch to the next slide. So if you ever ask, and this is where the three questions come from. They will ask you the factors to consider when you're buying an internet service provider. In the next slide, we are talking about how do you connect to the internet. You people connecting to the internet, there are only two ways. Maybe, can I hear someone, if you're here and you've ever connected to the internet? Of course, all of us here have ever connected to the internet. Which method do you use to connect to the internet? If you know any of those methods. I want to see people's hands up, or else I'll talk about what is here and we proceed. How do you connect to the internet? No hand is coming up, no one is talking. Jojo? And is that your name?
Yes, sir, it is. Dial-up.
Okay. How do you connect to the internet? Have you ever
Dial-up.
connected to the internet? You're saying how do you connect?
Dial-up. Dial-up connection.
Dial-up connection means what?
When you like when you select like a contact and you
When you
call,
select what?
like a contact and you call.
Not understood, but
When you select a contact and you call.
when you get what?
When you
I can't
select a
get what?
contact and you call.
And you call.
Yeah.
Dialing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, dial up is one of the ways, but I really don't think it's one of the methods. But I have read about dial up, but and for you only referring to making a call, those say it's something more than that, but we'll see where dial up falls. Any other suggestion? There are only two ways or two methods of connecting to the internet that are popular. One of it is physical and the other one is wireless. And for physical, you use a cable to connect to your internet. And for wireless, you don't need any cable. So if they ask you to distinguish between those two, there is physical connection. It's one of the methods you use to connect to the internet. And here we use internet cables. And an internet cable, I don't know if I can display. Yes. Let me see if I can show you an internet cable. Yeah. an internet cable. Let me pick some pictures from the internet. So if you have a phone, if you have a laptop, majorly it is not, I've never seen phones that use internet cables, apart from those radio calls we used to have so many years ago. But an internet cable, when you go to places that give services like a hotel, you'll find cables there. When you find those cables, you just open your laptop and get that cable and connect to the internet. And in that picture, there is a person who is connecting an internet cable into their laptop. I think this is a laptop, you can see it. And this is an internet cable. And even here, there is another picture trying to demonstrate the same. And there are so many pictures on the internet cable. Yeah, there is one here. So an internet cable looks like that. You get your laptop and connect that cable to it. Now for the laptop, you don't need to now buy that when you have that internet cable. So that is a physical connection, and it's one of the methods you must use if you are to connect to the internet. Then the second second method is called the wireless connection. And here we use things like the wireless, the Wi-Fi rather, and they are going to ask you to write Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi in full stands for Wi-Fi in full stands for this. Stands for wireless fidelity. This one here. They will ask you to write Wi-Fi in full, and Wi-Fi is written W, which is capital. Then you write I like this. Then an hyphen F capital. Like you know you've opened. Don't allow people. This is Angela. Marika. You have to find in the background and you're allowing to open the microphone. So there is wireless and there is what? Physical. For wireless, you need what we call the wireless card, or it's Wi-Fi card if your computer can't use that as technology. But most phones that are there now of recent, ideally almost every smartphone can connect to Wi-Fi. So, and most desktops now that are coming on market can connect on Wi-Fi. Unlike the previous times when Wi-Fi could only be accessed by laptops. And most laptops even now can't connect to the Wi-Fi. So if you have a desktop that can't connect to Wi-Fi, you have to buy something called the wireless key. Let me see if I can also display that Wi-Fi key, wireless key here, and we see how much you can buy it. Wireless key. I can't find the wireless key price, but it's like a small device that looks like a flash. And I think it is about 25,000 or 30,000. It is used to connect to, you connect it to the laptop, and when you connect it to the laptop, it will always give you the privileges to access the internet. There is yeah, right. So I will start removing people from here. Don't speak when the microphone is open. There is
going online.
Okay, the wireless key looks like this small. It looks like this small. You must be seeing this wireless key for the mouse. This one specifically is for the mouse. But there is that particular wireless key. And when you buy it, if your desktop, even if you create a hotspot, it can't see it. You need to buy this small device. It's called the wireless key. Unfortunately, I can't see its price here. I've only seen the one for the mouse. And you can always buy it around 30,000 or 2,000, right? Around 30,000, I think, or 25,000, depending on where you're buying it. So you can buy that and use it for you to connect to the internet. For those who use Wi-Fi, and in the place where you are, there is Wi-Fi, but you're using a desktop that cannot pick internet. So you need that Wi-Fi key. So wireless connection, this is where one connects to the internet without the cable. One should have different devices that support wireless technology, and it should have the Wi-Fi card. Now the Wi-Fi card is very important. It's the one I'm talking about here. And when you put that wireless key, it can give you Bluetooth, it can give you access to Wi-Fi. It's very important. Is there any question about these types of these methods of connecting to the internet? I'll talk about it quickly. If there is no question, we'll proceed to the next slide. There is always physical and there is always what? Wireless. You choose. And don't connect using both. Some of you want to waste resources. You have data. The place where you are staying, there is Wi-Fi. So you connect data on, you turn on Wi-Fi on, and sometimes you may be charged double. They are picking part of your Wi-Fi, they are picking part of your data. And why would you waste resources like that when you can use one at a time? And let's avoid using wireless in places where you not trust. Once you connect to someone's Wi-Fi, it is possible that they can download your photos, they can download your messages from WhatsApp, they can do almost so many things on your device. Let's not take chances. When you get a Wi-Fi that is not private, don't overuse it for a long period of time. Use it maybe to update your status and turn it off and walk away. Otherwise, when you sit on it, for those who have ever used the smart TVs, you know how Wi-Fi can be very dangerous. When your smart TV is connected to any Wi-Fi around, you know very well that anyone who connects to the same Wi-Fi can even turn it off and even play any video they want, even for you when you're watching, maybe you're watching your series or you're watching any movie that you're interested in, and the person also connects to Wi-Fi that smart TV is using, can even turn it off, can even turn the volume up or down. So if equally, it's the same thing. If you're connected to a public Wi-Fi and there are some people who hate you, maybe who are looking for the information you have in your phone, they can use it to manipulate your security, and they can always access that information. So if there is any question here or no question, we'll proceed. I don't see any hand up, so proceed. There are two types, and one is physical, one is wireless. The types of internet connections, and this is where this person who talked about the day app comes. But there are so many types of internet connection, as we are going to see. The first one, which is not even popular, is called the dedicated internet connection, broadband technology. Now, most of you could have never heard about this, but it is the first type of internet connection that most of you have never seen, but it is what most people are using when you don't know. And what happens here is that you go to MTN and they give you a cable. Now, for the dedicated internet connection, it doesn't expire. When you buy it, you can buy for a month. The whole month you use when you will not what? Being interrupted at all. You don't have to keep connecting. You don't need to keep connecting to MTN. You don't need to keep connecting to Airtel every time you want to use your internet. Whether power is on, whether power is off, whether MTN has closed their office, whether it is open, they would have connected you to a dedicated internet connection. And most banks use this. When the internet is disturbing, for them, they continue using because they use what we call a dedicated internet connection. Now, where I stay around Bali here, MTN has put in a lot of money to send these dedicated internet connections to most of the schools. But most homes around here have also started picking. I think you pay, I think, 40,000 per week or per month. I don't know. I've not paid that money before. But it is cheaper. If you're having a house, you're having a home where parents use a lot of data, even you, maybe to watch movies, to do what? The other option is for them to think about a dedicated internet connection. Then they buy a router. A router is very important. And maybe, why would I talk about a router without showing how it looks like? Routers. Let me see if I can get a popular one. You need a router in your home. Now, when you put a router in your home, it can work very well for you, and it can provide wireless. Let me see which one is good here that I can. Of course, there are many types of routers, but I just want to display one here that I feel can help me explain this point. There are so many, but let me see if I can make use of this. Yeah, there is a router here that I can display. Okay. There is a router here, and I think Jumia sells it. They uploaded it 3 years ago, I think. You can visit Jumia using this link, and you can buy this router. Now, the funny thing with this router is that it can connect to, it can allow you to connect to a modem. There is a modem here. This person has put a modem, and it gives internet to the whole house, maybe even the surrounding area. Put a modem here, put your 3GB, and everyone at home can use wireless for free. Now, if you don't have a modem, you buy the other internet cable I told you from MTN and connect it to one of these ports. And the whole house will have Wi-Fi. Or if you want to use other cables to other computers, this particular router can give you access to 4 other cables. Connect the main one from MTN here in this black port, and you can get other extra 4 computers connected directly here using the cable. So a router is very important. And how do you use a router at home? You can have a modem, or you can have what we call a dedicated internet connection. And what do we mean by this? In this type of connection, we do not need to request from the internet service provider for connection for every time you connect to internet. So here, once you have your subscription, whether MTN is working or not for you, you can always use what? The internet. And some companies do what we call leased lines. And they can be so many lines for them. They lease a full line from Kampala and it connects to their company, and the internet is too fast. Then the next type of internet connection is this normal one, which this gentleman talked about, and he said the dial-up internet connection. Now, this one is very, very important, and it's the one we use daily. So every time you want to connect to the internet, buy some data, turn on your internet, and connect. And this one is saying, this is the type of connection where we need to connect to the internet service provider every time we want to connect to the internet. So most of us fall in the type of internet number 2. There are so many types of internet, but we are going to see the last ones if time allows. So we want to talk about what we call the bandwidth. And maybe before we talk about the bandwidth, if there is any question here on the types of internet connections, you will ask. UNEB is going to ask you to distinguish between dedicated internet connection and the dial-up type. They want you to give the differences. And if you can't remember them, you always leave that question blank. And the beauty with ICT is that they leave space for you to write. So every time you don't know what to write, you leave that empty space, and anyone will know that you have been fitted and they will know you're not a smart student. What I always encourage my students is that let's continue writing. Whether they have asked something you know or you don't know, write something related to what you want to say. There is this person using Common 15. Your hand is up, say something.
Teacher, what's ISP in full?
That is an internet service provider.
Thank you, sir.
And an internet service provider we've talked about. We've talked about it several times. I really don't know, maybe you've just come now. And I say the examples of internet service providers include these ones. I remember posting them in the chat. There are so many there. Unfortunately, we ended on only writing those ones. And if someone has any other, you can add. The ones I remember we wrote were these ones here. Unfortunately, I can't display. Yes, they are here. We said we have MTN, Airtel, UTL, Leica Mobile, Telecom, and so on. All those are examples of internet service providers. Unfortunately for you, you're just coming now. So, any other question before we can proceed? All right, let's talk about the bandwidth. And every time they talk about the bandwidth, this is the amount of data that can be transmitted over a network in a certain amount of time. Now, you people, you're going to deal with internet, but this is the most powerful thing you need to know as a student of ICT. And let me first close this slide here that could be confusing people here. Okay, there is something we call the bandwidth. And the bandwidth, like someone said, there is a mobile internet service provider called MTN. And the first person who gave us the one they would consider fast and why picked MTN on grounds that it was very fast. Now, every time people are telling you that MTN is very fast is because of the bandwidth of the internet service provider. So there are some lines that you feel they are very fast, but they have a low bandwidth. But how do you know that the bandwidth is always good? Is by trying to check. Every time you want to download maybe a movie of 500 megabytes, how long does it take you to download using MTN and using Airtel and using Leica? The one that is very fast means it has a very fast bandwidth. So the bandwidth is defined like this: the amount of data that can be transmitted over a network in a certain amount of time. The other alternative definition is that it is the speed of accessibility and sending of messages, stroke information. So I don't know which one you would consider as you, but we had sampled some people here, and they had talked about what they would consider. I want to, again, find out your experience at your homes. Which one is faster? Like it varies from wherever you are. Like I told you at my home village, when I go back, Airtel can't work. So I want to hear from you people. Which one would you use when you go back to the real village? And most of you have gone back to your homes, and you can give us the best experience. I started with Airtel. I don't know who else has an experience here. Okay, I don't see any hand. No one is talking. And there is a last note here. Every time you are measuring the speed of an internet service provider, the speed is measured in Mbps. Mbps. And Mbps, just like we have centimeters, we have meters, we have kilometers, and so on. The internet speed, how fast is the speed, is not measured in kilometers per second. It's measured in megabytes per second. And even MTN writes, even Airtel writes in their posters, they will tell you our internet speed is this. But some of us have been undermining that. We don't even read. But here is the list of how fast some of these internet providers are. Now, MTN is the leading, for those who didn't know, when it comes to the networks that we use, because MTN gives up to 34.26 megabytes per second. So in every second, if you're using MTN cable, now this one, you might not even explain it. If you have a movie of about, I'm talking about a song, maybe if you're downloading a song for some musician, and it is less than 30 megabytes. If you're using MTN licensed line from their service centers, it will take you just 1 second to download 30 megabytes, 34.2, just 1 second. If it's a movie, I don't know, a movie, which is 1 GB, 1 GB has about 1,020. So it may take 1 minute to download 1 GB. It is very, very fast. But the most terrible speed, the most terrible internet service provider is called Zuku. I have unfortunately never used it, but I think in Uganda it's the leading because its Mbps is the biggest. Zuku Fiber, for those who are going to study, unfortunately, some of you have not studied data communication and networking, but they are going to teach about the fiber optic cables and twisted pair cables and so on under that. So there is something called the fiber cable. This one is very terrible. Now, this one is having, in Uganda here, we have one service provider called Zouk Fiber. You can write it down. If you have been disturbed, internet disturbs you at your home or it disturbs you at your school, can always advise those people to use Zouk Fiber because of those reasons that are obvious. 80 megabytes per second. Then there is what we call Airtel 22, then Sprint Uganda 30, then Loki Telecom 10 Mbps. Those who use Leica, I don't know, ask them. Leica users. For those who have internet, you can search for us. How many Mbps does Leica provide? How about Safaricom? About UTL? Maybe I'm talking about these ones, but Leica could be faster. Or someone should update us about Leica later on. And if there is any question here, ask it or else we'll proceed. Now, you have now to close this discussion, which internet is faster. Start by knowing which Mbps does it have, and you don't argue with them. If it's not above 10, don't even buy. If it's 10 and if it's not above 10, maybe 10 and above, you can think about it. Otherwise, if it's below that, just go for MTN. It's the best I would recommend. And Airtel is also very fast around town areas, urban centers. Very fast, you can also always go for it because you can now clearly see that it is a bit low. Yes, Jojo?
Like I use a 16.8.
16.8. I don't know whether this is true. MB.
No, I've used the net.
Yes. Use the net.
Yeah.
16 is also not bad. You can go for it. Check for me Safaricom in Kenya. What does it use? Those outside networks, you use here in Uganda, we are moving slowly. That's why our MDFPS is a bit low. But when you go like to the USA or any of those, you can try to find out. Someone should ask, have you got Safaricom? You can try Safaricom, you can try Vodafone. There is this, for those who watch football, in Ghana, they have some internet.
Safaricom.
Safaricom has what?
It has different speeds, like different packages.
But which one is the biggest they can offer?
40.
Up to 40. 40 Mbp.
Yes.
Yeah, 40 Mbps. This is Safaricom. Safaricom. Let's check outside East Africa. There is that popular internet service provider they advertise on DSTV called Bro. Is it Bro? Check and see how much they can give in Ghana. That's outside East Africa. Maybe for us, we are better than them, or they are even better than us. Have you got something in Ghana? Or anyone, whoever has got something outside Uganda, I want to hear. Outside Uganda, how are they faring? You can try Vodafone, you can try NBC. Now, people here don't use internet. By now, we could have got that answer. Seeing a very
It
terrible
uses
speed.
150.
150.
Yeah.
I'm seeing 2 Mbps. I don't know
That's
if
not
I'm
in
seeing
Ghana.
well. That's not in Ghana.
Yeah.
You said one what? 50.
Yeah. But those are the download speeds. The upload speeds are 50.
Internet you will not consider where their speed. So that is it. That is what I can say about the bandwidth. So I was still waiting to hear if there is any question. Unfortunately, my internet here became too slow and I lost the connectivity. I'm using an internet service provider here that could be more slow. And Okay, we can get there. Is there any question that you can ask about the internet service provider?
Excuse me, sir. Someone
Yes,
talked
please.
about someone talked about download and upload something which was 150 and 50. What is that?
Upload speed. Oh, now I really don't know about the upload speed. But I think what it means literally there is that when you're uploading, it is faster than when you're downloading. Those two vary. For example, when we're uploading, for those who use WhatsApp, for those who use YouTube, when you're uploading a video on YouTube, sometimes it is very, very heavy. On YouTube, we upload videos of about 2 megabytes, but it can take you about 5 minutes when you've uploaded the whole of it. Not 2 megabytes, 2 GB rather. A movie, for example, if you shot a video for some client and you're sending to them, it could be a whole wedding video. It can take you 5 minutes of uploading. You realize that it is easier for you to upload the same 2 GB, 5 minutes, but when you're downloading 2 GB, it can take you 10 minutes. That is where the difference is. Now, I want to share my screen. Irene, I don't know how you're going to transfer those rights to any of my accounts. Go to participants, right click on my name and put, especially this other account that has the co-host, can give it such that share my screen here. But I want to encourage you to go to the internet and read more about the bandwidth of internet service providers. Don't just go there and they cheat you money when you don't know. So I want us to continue. We'll talk about, I'm waiting for Irene. Do you know what to do or?
I don't know what to do.
Have you seen participants? Go to participants on your phone. You're using a phone or a laptop?
I'm using a phone.
Go to participant. Have you seen participant down there? So,
I've seen.
but yes, right click on my name and put the host rights. Let me see if I can share using my phone as we wait for the rights. Keep trying until when you send. I want to try to share using my phone as we prepare to end here. Okay, we had reached the bandwidth of the computer of the internet service provider. Yes, Wilson, is that a question? Wilson, put up, what do you want to say? Open your microphone, I can't hear. Okay, I was saying the bandwidth of the computer. The bandwidth of the internet service provider is measured in megabytes per second. And someone was talking about the upload speed, and I've talked about the upload speed. Yes, Brian? Brian, your hand is up. Okay, we'll proceed. There is something called the packet switching. And packet switching, in most cases, for those who use SMS to send messages. When you buy SMS, 1,000 on Airtel, they give you 200, and 5K, they can give you, I think, 1,000 SMS bundle. So when you're sending messages, there is sometimes when you send and they charge you 2 SMS for the message, or 3 or 4, depending on how big your document is. Those are the packet switches they talk about. Or when you're sending, you're uploading a video on someone's Facebook page, or you're inboxing someone, normally they also look at packets. It cannot go the whole of it at once. It has to be broken down. And this is the method of transmitting messages through a communication network in which long messages are subdivided into shorter packets. And the packet definition refers to any group of bits, and that includes data and information. So provided there are bits and they're including information and data, then those ones will be always referred to as packets. And packet switching is the process of dividing them. And for those who have worked with SMS, I think it will give you the best experience. There are some times now, you people have studied in a time where it is very easy for you to send files to someone, maybe to revise. But during our time, discussions used to happen, but we didn't have smartphones. We used to have these mobile phones, the ones of buttons. And if we needed to do any discussion, we would use SMS. You people have not even known that they're even, leave alone the WhatsApp groups. You can use SMS and make you can also make SMS groups. So we used to make SMS groups where we would chat with our friends using SMS bundle. But now, when it came to explaining a concept, and you've written about one page, it wouldn't be sent using SMS. It would be broken down into so many messages. So if a person has a very funny mobile phone, they would not receive the whole message. They would receive part of it, and the other one would not be sent to them. So that's called packet switching, and it's very, very key in internet. I also wanted to talk about these other technologies. I'll just read through them. The third one, remember we had talked about 2, and these 2 are here. These 2 are here. Dedicated internet, then the dial-up connection, then the other ones are here. Digital subscriber line, there is what we call using a cable modem, then there is what we say using a wireless technology. So these 3 add up to the other 2 that we had talked about to make them 5. So they will ask you to distinguish between any of those 2. Just giving you that hint that those things are there. You can always read more about those terminologies used in connecting to the internet. Otherwise, when they ask you to distinguish between a digital subscriber line, you need to know what it means. And you can upload the data up to 128 Mbps and load at around 312 Mbps when you're using a digital subscriber line. Now, read more about that because of time. And I wanted us to end with the uses of internet, which are here. You've seen all of them. And what I want to encourage students when you're talking about the uses of internet, avoid saying it is used for playing games. It's used for watching movies. It's used for playing music. That is the same thing. Avoid writing that. You will get no mark for that. Let's categorize music, movies, under one category called entertainment. Making calls. It's used for sending SMS. It's used for WhatsApp. You're only talking about communication. So the points that I feel can give you marks are just here, there, and it helps in communication. Internet helps to get current events, and that is to do with updates. It is also used in education. Like we are now studying something here on the internet. So it is helpful. It's a source of entertainment. You can watch a movie, you can play music, play games, and share family photos over the internet for entertainment. So don't always fail to, don't always fail to, don't always fail this question by duplicating your point and right and right and right. Then it is helps in online banking. Don't say it is used for withdrawing money. It's used for depositing money. All that is under the category of online banking. And there is something here called it helps in business, like online shopping and so on. Then other points at this side, many of them that you will talk about, helps in virtual learning, and we talked about the education already, and the so many other sorts of job opportunities. You can work with an organization remotely using the internet and so on. And the other popular thing the internet does is that it's used for advertising, either jobs or any other goods advertised using the internet. So don't just sit there and say, now, what are the importance of the internet? And every time you see a question like advantages of internet, or you feel that is an easy question. Best students fail it because they don't know the right way to write the definition of the internet. So the disadvantages, and before I leave the advantages, they will always ask you, what is the advantages of using internet in schools? Break down this into the school setting. Now, the disadvantages here, now most people write and write and write. Some of the things you write here and there. The first one is moral degradation, and that moral has letter L somewhere that is missing. And there is the internet spreads virus. That should be something you shouldn't forget to write. The virus bit of it. The internet gives a lot of virus, and of recent people are sending WhatsApp messages. You click on this to win 20 million, to get 6 GB internet, and so on. All those ones are spreading internet virus. So don't just click on anything that you don't understand. So you're going to get virus, or your account will be hacked into, and you will not continue having access to it. It has led to high rates of forgery among people. Internet, I don't know what internet has not done. Recently, I saw a video that was circulating when President Museveni, I think, was running on the road, on the streets. I don't know which road was that, but they've used the AI to generate President Museveni's video. Hope you know that AI can give you a chance to generate a video, provided you have a photo for someone. And there was that recent saga when the Kabaka of Uganda was still in where was that? Let's close your microphone if you. So these people feared that the Kabaka had these people had used the AI to generate the Kabaka's video. It was trending for some time. Unfortunately, it must have been wrong. Then when we saw the Kabaka, he was still alive. So AI has come, but it is doing so many funny things. And it is the internet that is helping them on that. So forgery, people can forge passport photos, they can forge UCE certificates, and points over irritating. It's already time going. I will just send it here and remove you from the meeting. Joel, I've told you to close your microphone. Yes, so we can always do that. I don't want to remove people from the meeting here. Time is up. Just go if you put your mouth there. Anyway, let's get into that. The disadvantages, I've talked about forgery. I've talked about the moral degradation, where people are doing now so many silly things. There is something called spamming, and this is sending of the same message to various people, including those who don't require it. There is something called spamming, especially for those who use email addresses. Joanne, close your microphone. So the disadvantages are here, and it is also expensive to obtain internet as required regularly. So it makes you poor in the long run if you're always using internet and you're buying data all the time. In the end, you become what? Poor. So it can make you poor because you spend a lot of. So the last slide that I wanted to talk about was what we call the World Wide Web, and that is www. They will ask you to write that in full. World Wide Web, and this simply refers to the collection of information that is accessible on the internet. So once your information is available on the internet, then we will assume you've used what we call the World Wide Web. So the definition to www, they will always ask you to give the difference between internet and the World Wide Web. World Wide Web refers to a collection of information that is accessible on the internet. So this information can be in terms of pictures, text, and sound. So, and in most cases, it is stored on a computer known as the server. Now, because of time, I can't talk more about www, but it's something we should check out and read. There is something we call a web browser, and the examples of web browser are there. I don't have time to talk about that. Then there is something called a web page for those who use internet. There are so many web pages. For example, if you type into a certain website like the Ministry of Education and Sports, it has so many web pages, Ministry of Education and Sports. There is one for primary. So if you want to go to primary, you click on the primary web page, it takes you there. So this is a document on the web. It is formatted text document that web can display. So most web pages on the internet allow you to quickly move to another web page. So if you click on any link on the website, it takes you to a different web page. Web pages are different pages, like we see pages in Microsoft Word. So in internet, we call them the web pages. Could be having 2 pages, it could have 3 pages. Unfortunately, you people did not study the internet. I mean, to create websites in your senior form, in your O level. For you who studied, maybe well and good, but in most schools, they did not teach for those students who did ICT in senior form. But right now, the new curriculum, creating of websites, it is very, very compulsory. So students are encouraged to create websites. So what is in their mind every time you talk about a website, they look at web pages. How many web pages am I going to? So interest yourself in creating websites, you know what a web page means. So there is a website. Website is a collection of many web pages. You also read something about that. And the last slide I want to talk about here is, why do you think people use phones on the internet other than other things like laptops, tablets, and so on? The first thing is that a phone is cheap, and internet is very fast on the phone. For you who don't know, if you're using a phone, you can even access, some phones can now access 5G internet. 4G is now obvious for mobile phones, but some laptops cannot even have that speed. Then lastly, the phones are very portable. I saw in one of the schools I went to check for exams, invigilation. Students hide phones. Okay, it's very bad for you to copy, but now it is worse when you go with the phone to an exam. At universities, where phones are very obvious, if they get you with the phone, whether you're using it to cheat or not in an exam room, that one gives you what we call debia is fair. They would have forgiven you, but they do what we call discontinuation. They discontinue you. That is a straighter way of saying a student at the university has been expelled indefinitely. It's called discontinuation. So Don't use the phones in exams. Don't even go with it because phones are portable and they can be connected to the internet. Why people prefer using phones on the internet is that because they are portable and they have so many extra features like the camera. You don't need a microphone when you're using a phone to make a call. But for a computer, you need to connect earphones or you need to connect a microphone such that those people can hear you. But a phone, they have put a mouthpiece inside and you just do that. It has a camera, you can make a video call without any extra hardware. But for a desktop, you might need to put a camera, the one we call the webcam. So if they ever ask you to give the advantages of using a phone over other devices, don't forget to talk about anything that you know. I want to end there for now, and we've been talking about internet, and basically this is all you must study about internet. And like some people had talked about in the next lesson, we are most likely to talk about data communication, and I pray that it finds when we are all alive. And I'm thinking that during that day, we may also do some bit of PowerPoint or and see what is commonly examined in practicals for Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. I want to end here for now. If there is any question, please put it up. If there is no question, we leave here. We go and do other. Is there any question? If there is no question, let's leave it here. Like I told you, this